the feeling, yeah. I worship. Come some of the work gets kind of hard. And this ain't no place to be if you plan on being a star. Let me tell you, it's always cool.
We've been on the front lines. We see how poverty and hunger can devastate our communities. We provide help and hope to those who need it, no matter when or how they need it. This ministry is about community and family. Supporting one another makes us all stronger. This is us. This is real life. Food is life, but we are about so much more.
Here at the Help Center, we're bringing hope, reaching people, building lives, and transforming a community for Christ.
It's the New Music Update, highlighting what's new in Christian music each week. Presented by NewReleaseToday.com.
I'm Jeremiah St. James, and this is what's new in Christian music. Brand new music from Citizen Way, a fresh single, That Thank You Song. And a new single from pop rock band Amongst Wolves, Not Dead. UK band explores when to have faith in times of doubting. Both singles from Citizen Way and Amongst Wolves are out and streaming everywhere now.
It's what's happening each week in Christian music. New Music Update. Presented by NewReleaseToday.com.
Today is Tuesday, November the 22nd. I'm Ryan Hill.
I'm John Galantis.
And you're listening to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can find us online at clearviewtodayshow.com, or if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, send us a text at 252-582-5028. Or you can email us at contact@clearviewtodayshow.com. Make sure you follow along with Dr. Shah on his blog, abadanshaw.com, and you can support us financially by visiting clearviewtodayshow.com. Every time you give, it builds this partnership between us where we can go out together standing shoulder to shoulder and reach many people with the gospel of Jesus Christ.
That's right. You guys can help us keep the conversation in the airwaves by supporting this show, supporting the podcast, sharing it online, sharing it on Facebook, sharing it on Instagram, leaving us a good review on iTunes, leaving us 5-star reviews. That every single time you guys do that, it helps us take the gospel and push it further into the world. And that's what Jesus has commanded us to do.
Absolutely. Share it every way you can. Share it. If you have to draw it on a piece of paper in crayon and slip it under your neighbor's door, do that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was agreeing, but I was kind of barely processing what you're saying. Yeah, do it, man. If that's what the Lord's called you to do it.
Sure.
That's what he's called my son to do.
Yeah.
You want to hit him with the verse of the day?
Absolutely. The verse of the day today comes from John 16:33. These things I have spoken to you that in me you... Let me start over.
You got it.
These things I have spoken to you that in me you may have peace. In the world you will have tribulation, but be of good cheer. I have overcome the world.
I needed to hear that today. Be of good cheer. I have overcome the world.
That's a good reminder for us. A lot of times we get distracted by the world. We get focused on our problems. We get focused on, the situations that we're dealing with. But Jesus reminds us he's already won the battle.
Yeah,
he's already overcome.
We tend to doom scroll. You know what doom scrolling is? Just scroll and I'm almost trying to get bad news.
Yep.
I feel bad about the world. I'm scared. I'm anxious. I'm just going to keep filling my head with it and filling my head with it. Jesus said, all that stuff, I've already overcome it. So just be of good cheer. Be happy. Be at peace.
Absolutely.
I love that. And I like what he says up front. These things I've spoken to you, that in me you may have peace.
That's right.
You don't need to keep looking for any news source. You don't have to listen to this radio show. No external source apart from me is going to give you that peace.
Yep.
Yeah.
Amen.
I got a proposition for you.
Okay.
I will give you $1 million.
I like where this is headed.
Cash in hand, because that is the only way I deal. Cash.
Those who are listening,
he's like,
I can't see this, but I'm extending my hand.
This is kind of cute. This is kind of cute.
For some money.
Cash. You have to drive from the Atlantic Ocean. There's a specific parking spot that's saved for you.
Okay.
You have to get in the car and drive to, did I say the Pacific Ocean? I mean the Atlantic Ocean, where we are on the East Coast.
Yeah, you said from the Atlantic Ocean.
Okay, from the Atlantic Ocean to the Pacific. There's another parking spot right there.
Okay.
You cannot, it's like speed, but in reverse. You cannot go over 35 miles per hour. The car will not allow you to go over 35 miles per hour.
Golly.
You can start whenever you want. Like you can prepare, you can get whatever you need. But once you start, you can't stop. What I mean by that is like you can take breaks. You can like stay in a hotel for a few days and recoup, but you can't like go back home.
Okay, so not driving nonstop.
You don't have to drive nonstop. You can take as long as you want to take. Like
Okay.
you can stop at a hotel, take a few days, weeks if you want to recharge.
Okay.
I mean, life's going to go on without you back home.
Right.
But you can take breaks, but you cannot like once you get like to your hometown, you can't like stop, go on about your life and then try to resume.
Yeah.
You can't like you have to drive from there, from ocean to ocean and then back at 35 miles per hour.
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm going to go ahead and say yes.
Mhm.
And it would be a question for me of, do I just bite the bullet and do it without my family?
Uh-huh.
Because I mean, that's going to take some time. Like
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I would imagine that's probably a couple weeks, right?
Well, you can get to California. You can get from here. You can get to California in about 4 or 5 days, but that's driving like normally, not
Right.
at 35 miles per hour
Yeah.
cap. I would say you could probably complete it in
Is it there and back?
there and back again.
Oh,
A
man,
Hobbit's
that's like
Tale by Bilbo Baggins.
That's like a month, I feel like.
no. I would say a few.
I would
weeks
take
to
it.
a couple of weeks.
I would take it, and I would either just do it without the kids,
Yeah.
do it without Elizabeth, and just be like, hey, I got to do this.
Yeah.
It's going to earn us a
Yeah.
lot of money for our family. I'll see when I get back. I love you.
Yeah.
And just power through.
Mhm.
Or we would like over the summer,
Mhm.
like we would just take the kids.
Take
and
like
that's our
make it a
adventure.
thing and get $1 million for it.
Right.
A road trip like that with 5 youngins, that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Not that you got bad youngins. I'm not saying that. You
No,
don't have
it is a lot.
bad children, but like,
but
I've got-
that's what I'm saying. Like if they come, it's going to be inevitably it's going to be a longer trip.
yeah. I dread taking the one I got like up to Raleigh. That's one.
Here's the deal though. Like mine are to the age now
Mhm.
that they've all got tablets. Like you give them a tablet and
true,
some
yeah.
headphones, they're
They can
like
kinda
chilling, watching a movie.
entertain themselves.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
It's not that they're just like crazy rambunctious in the car. It's just like they had tiny little kid bladders. So
Yeah.
we're gonna have to stop and pee every.
I would
However long.
also take the offer. I would take the money. I would leave my son with Nana and Papa and then take Ellie. Ellie's a good road trip partner.
Yeah.
Ellie's a really good road trip. We like all the music. She more or less likes my podcasts. Not all of them, but you know, she's pretty chill.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
enough that it would be an enjoyable experience.
Yeah, I would do it.
Yeah.
I would do it. We drove down to Jacksonville for our honeymoon, 13-hour drive. It was fun.
Yeah.
I loved it. Most people dread. See, I love a long car ride.
Yeah.
If I'm driving.
Elizabeth and I took a long road trip before the kids.
Mhm.
We went to visit some of our friends in New Mexico and
Yeah,
drove
yeah.
over the course of a couple of days, and that was a lot of fun.
Yeah.
We read books to each other. Like whoever was not driving at that time would be reading through this book series that we were going through.
Now, how in the world do you read in the car? Y'all can both read in the car?
I can. She can sometimes.
Okay. I can't do that.
She
Dr. Shaw can. Dr. Shaw
She's a little more.
I've seen Dr. Shaw when we go on like staff retreats and
Yeah.
stuff. We'll just be up in the mountains, like curving roads, probably like a roller coaster, just falling down mountains. He's reading a book.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, that makes me so motion sick.
Yeah, it normally does. Now, if it's windy and stuff like that, I'll get messed up. But
Yeah.
if it's just regular, like straight highway,
Yeah.
I can read in the car.
Do that. Okay, cool.
So
Cool.
Well, on today's episode, we want to continue our discussion from yesterday. You know, if you were listening to yesterday's episode, you know that we discussed the Tower of Babel from
Right.
Dr. Shaw's sermon series, Tyranny, and how that impacted the culture of that day, how
Right.
that shaped the rest of the events in the book of Genesis and in the Old Testament. But what we're going to see today is that not only is that true for Scripture, where there have been people that have been trying to consolidate power, but it's true throughout history.
Absolutely.
It's true today in our
Yes,
our
it's
nation.
especially true today.
And we've seen that over the course of the past several years.
Yep.
And we've seen the effects of that. We're going to talk about that more on today's episode. But before we do that, if you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, make sure you send us a text to 252-582-5028 or visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. We're going to go get Dr. Shaw. We'll be right back.
Are you looking for some new worship music to go along with all these amazing shows here on the Truth Network? Well, Today's your lucky day because Dr. Shaw and myself and a lot of the rest of the Clearview staff have been hard at work writing for the last few months, and we're very excited to share Clearview's new EP with you, Together Forward. Not only do these songs sound great, but each and every single one of them were born from a place of genuine worship and prayerfully written by our team right here at Clearview Church. It's available right now on iTunes, Amazon, Spotify, anywhere digital music is sold. So make sure to pick up your copy today and let us know how these songs are helping you, whether they're helping your worship band in your church or just in the car or around in your everyday life. Email us at info@clearviewbc.org. You can also support the ministry here at Clearview Church by visiting us online. That's clearviewbc.org/give. Thanks for listening. Now back to the show.
Welcome back to Clearview Today with Dr. Abadan Shah, the daily show that engages mind and heart for the gospel of Jesus Christ. You can find us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. If you have any questions or suggestions for future episodes, you can send us a text at 252-582-5028. It is Tuesday. Dr. Shah, welcome to the studio today. We're glad you're with us today.
Absolutely. This is Thanksgiving week. I'm looking forward to 2 days from now.
Is your house already starting to smell like those Thanksgiving smells?
Yeah.
Nicole's cranking food out.
Yeah, she is getting there, and I can, she'll start cleaning the house. I mean, that's the first step. She'll start Monday. Everything's gonna be clean, and then after that, all the groceries are ready, and then Tuesday, Wednesday is usually when
everything starts
cooking,
starts getting in motion.
That's right.
Well, some of you guys out there in listener land may be joining us for the very first time. You've picked Thanksgiving week to join us. If you're new to the show, Dr. Abadan Shah is a PhD in New Testament textual criticism, a professor at Carolina University, an author, pastor, and the host of today's episode.
That's right. And today we're continuing the conversation from yesterday. So if you missed that episode, you can find it. If you're listening via podcast, you can go back and listen to that episode. If you're listening on the radio,
tough luck.
Unless you have time travel, I don't know what to.
Hey, I got something I can tell you to do. Go download the podcast app.
There you go.
Yeah,
and then
you can listen to it because this is part 2.
Absolutely, part 2. We talked yesterday about your message, your series of messages titled "Tyranny," where we were introduced to the Tower of Babel and how this character Nimrod was trying to consolidate power, make a name for himself. He was sort of like the first secular world leader that we read about in the Bible. But as you mentioned in your message, and I really love this line from your message, by the way, there have been Nimrods all throughout history.
That's right.
I love that because of that double meaning of how we think of the word Nimrod.
Right.
But there have been people like that who try to consolidate power all throughout history. Can you explain a little bit more what you mean by that to our listeners and viewers, what that means and why is that significant for us?
Oh, absolutely. Throughout history, every generation, every period in history, every age has had somebody rise up to that position where they feel like they need to control the whole world.
Right.
They feel like they know what's best for you. And not just for you, but for everybody inside. And the more people they can control and direct according to their idea of what it means to be, I don't know, happy or successful or a positive member or contributing member of society, whatever it is, they feel like they have the right to do that.
Right.
But ultimately, history shows us that all such people have been dictators. And there have been many Nimrods, starting with the one at Tower of Babel, throughout history, who have tried to control people's lives. In fact, as I mentioned to you, Bill Federer's works on history, and he talks about how history can be divided in 3 parts based on the concept of power.
Right.
So there is power concentrated or concentrated power, power separated, and then power concentrated. So concentrated power, that's what these individuals do. They try to consolidate power, and crisis is a way to do that. Think about the Tower of Babel. What was the crisis? The crisis was you never know. And again, this is a little conjecture.
Sure.
But the context, I believe, helps us there. The reason they were building power, it was to name for themselves, but also to, I believe, to kind of stick together and to protect themselves from the next catastrophe of a world flood. Even though God had said this is not the way it's going to be. Just like even today, everybody has an idea of how this world is going to end.
Right.
Right. So
Right.
all these policies that are being made, albeit is to make money, but it's based on the premise that it's not the way the Bible says.
Right.
We will tell you how it's going to end.
Mm-hmm.
And they even throw in that concept of scientifically, we can tell you how it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Behind it, money is being exchanged.
Exactly. I think that's what we've been seeing, especially these past 2 years, is like, yes, there's a crisis on our hands. There's a legitimate crisis. How can I use this to get ahead?
Right.
How can I use this to make money? How can I use this to exert control?
Yeah.
And there's always, like you said, throughout history, there's always been people who think that way, who see crisis as an opportunity.
Right.
Right.
Like this is the way the world is going to end. Forget about what the Bible says.
Right.
We will tell you how it's going to end. And let us help you. Wait, better off. Give all power over to us, and we will tell you how to live.
Just for right now, just in this emergency time.
Right.
Yeah.
Trust the experts.
Yeah.
Right.
And so what I'm saying here is, of course, we need to trust the experts. Great to have people who are educated, experienced in the field or whatever it is. But come on, sometimes we need to think discerningly. And what we
Right.
will see is that crisis is a tremendous tool to concentrate power again.
Absolutely.
You mentioned this in yesterday's episode, but for the benefit of those who may not have heard it, you talked about how that idea, trust the experts, let us do the thinking for you, is counter to how our country was founded.
That's right.
How do you want to mention that a little bit on this episode, how our country was set up and why that flies in the face of how we were structured?
Absolutely. I'm going to give a 2-minute history lesson, maybe
Sure.
3.
Go for it.
Please.
All right.
Let's do it.
So, it goes back to a time period after Islam, right? Islam began to rise, and they left the Arabian Peninsula and spread towards the west, towards the north, and they were moving at a rapid speed. This is in the 7th century AD, after Muhammad. His caliphs, his descendants, began to spread the religion. And one of the things they did was they cut off the trade from the Mediterranean. And with that happening, one of the things that was exported from the east, especially Egypt, was papyrus. So now papyrus trade is stopped. So what happens to the West? There is no education. There is no literacy.
Right.
How are you going to write? You don't have any papyrus. And if it wasn't for the monasteries where manuscripts, especially of the Bible, were being copied and recopied, knowledge would have become stillborn. It is because of the monasteries in Europe that knowledge stayed alive. And I'm
Right.
talking about not just religious knowledge, but just knowledge in general.
Right.
Because they were, in whatever way they possibly could, kept copying and kept transmitting literature and writings. But everywhere else, a dark period descended over Europe, and we call it the medieval times,
Okay.
the Dark Ages.
Right.
Now, keep in mind, this happened because of the spread of this powerful army, and if it wasn't for Charles Martel at the Battle of Tours in AD 732, Europe would look very different today. So he stopped it, the hammer, right, the original hammer,
Right.
the grandfather of Charlemagne, stopped the Islamic troops, and even though Dark Ages descended, at least Islam could not spread anymore.
Right.
Now, fast forward through the Crusades, fast forward to a time of the Ottoman Empire. Now, this is a second time the Islamic troops are moving, and they're heading towards Europe again. And the year now is about 1453. Constantinople falls, the Byzantine Empire or Byzantium falls, and now the scholars from Greece, right? They have to run for their lives. They take their manuscripts with them, all the classics in art and architecture, and they run towards Europe, especially towards Florence, Italy. And this gives birth to what we now call, starts with an R.
Oh, the Renaissance.
Renaissance.
Yeah.
Right? They're the people in Europe are like blown away. Like, what is this? We didn't know this existed. Of course
Right.
it did.
Right.
They just were not exposed to it. Renaissance is born. At the heels of Renaissance, Reformation is born. 1517, we hear about Martin Luther, nailing the 95 Theses to that door at Wittenberg, Wittenberg Church. And so Reformation is born. But 1529, Suleiman the Magnificent, who is the head of the Ottoman army, the Sultan of the Ottoman Empire. His troops surround Austria, right? Vienna especially. And if it wasn't for the providence of God, the Ottoman troops would have overran Vienna.
Right.
And Islam would have again come into Europe. So twice that has been stopped. One in 732 and then again in 1529. And so following that, the King of Spain, because Spain was the biggest empire, the Spanish Golden Age. The King of Spain, he knew, Charles V of Spain, the Emperor of the Holy Catholic Empire, he knew that Catholics and Protestants have to come together.
Right.
If we're going to stop the Ottomans, we have to come together. And so in 1555, the Peace of Augsburg was signed. And based on this peace, we're now all going to work together. But we have a dilemma. The dilemma is this. What religion are we going to follow? Are we going to be Roman Catholic or are we going to be Protestant? And the principle that came out of the Peace of Augsburg was, whose is the reign, his is the religion. So whatever your king, whatever his religion is,
that's the religion you're going to follow.
You're going to follow.
That's set for you.
Now think for a moment. The Reformation is already there. People are reading the Bible in their own language. Translations are happening. But you do not have the freedom to worship anything you want.
It's almost like it's flying in the face of the Reformation.
That's
it's almost like it's a return to religious authority almost.
That's right. So in 1558, in England, let's talk about England for a moment. According to the Act of Uniformity, if you are going to be in England, you're going to follow the religion of the King of England, which is Anglicanism.
Right.
So Puritans, we're going to purify the church. No, you're not.
Yeah.
Separatists, the church is too far gone. Well, if you feel that way, then get out of my land. So in 1607, the separatists left England and went to Holland. And in Holland, they realized very quickly the morals are different. Their children are going off the deep end. And so they left about 1620 and they came to the Americas.
Okay.
Those were the Pilgrims. So keep in mind, even though Europe is free,
right,
and so-called Christian, yet people did not have freedom.
Yeah, it's not how free it actually is it.
That's right.
Yeah.
The king was still in charge, and more specifically, he was still in charge over your religion. So you can read the Bible all you want. You can have all kinds of convictions, but you better not follow that religion.
Right.
Yeah.
Or you'll die, or you'll be burned at the stake. So you'll be beheaded, or you'll be drowned in the river.
It makes a lot more sense knowing the history of it, because now you start to see that the Pilgrims and these people who were fleeing religious persecution actually were fleeing something substantial.
Oh yeah,
like a return to authoritarian form.
Yes.
As far as the church goes.
I mean, history is complex. So on one hand, we're fighting Islamic hordes,
right?
But on the other hand, we're fighting our own people,
right,
to just be able to worship our stream of what we believe is true biblical Christianity. So when, think about in the early colonies,
right?
If you were a Puritan, go to Massachusetts. If you were Baptist, where would you go? Rhode Island, right? Roger Williams, you go to Rhode Island. If you were Congregational, Connecticut, New Hampshire. How about New York? Dutch Reformed.
Okay.
How about Virginia or North South Carolina? Anglican, right? These are the first colonies, right?
Right.
So yeah, you can be Anglican. In fact, a lot of Baptists were persecuted just across the border in Virginia. Some had their hands chopped off for preaching the gospel.
Wow.
We're talking about the late early 1700s.
Yeah.
So, history is so interesting that that persecution followed all the way here. So our founding fathers knew that if we're going to survive in this new country, we will have to be totally done with this power. Hence, they broke up that power into, what are the three branches?
Judicial, executive,
and legislative.
Yeah.
So we cannot have this one person controlling everything. And then they put the further stipulations. We know that as the Constitution, the 10 Amendments. And then they gave the power to the people, because unlike in Europe or in the East or Asia or anywhere else, The people are the king.
Right. Right.
So the people are the king in a constitutional democracy, or a democratically elected constitutional republic. I mean, think about that for a moment. Yeah,
I'm
you have a
trying to-
democracy to elect, but it's a constitutional republic. So you will send your people to vote in your place because you can't leave the farm, you can't leave your butcher shop, you can't leave, your occupation to go and vote each week. So you will elect somebody democratically to represent you. They will do what you're telling them to do. And it's all done with the Constitution as the guide.
I like that.
And it's not just to fight against the tyranny of the king, but it's also to fight against the tyranny of the majority.
How do you mean the tyranny of the majority? Just go ahead.
It's not just like a bunch of people will just jump up there and just say whatever they want to say. No, you will elect people who are worthy and capable.
I got you. You don't want to be outnumbered, even if just because something's popular does not mean it's right.
Right.
I got you.
So what an amazing concept.
Right.
Never in the history of the world has something like this been attempted. Now, here and there, things have been done this way,
Right.
Like in Israel, the period between Joshua and the judges. Yeah, there was somewhat of this system. Greece had a democracy, but again, the representatives were just, it was not something that you just elect. These were people who were descendants of descendants who continued the tradition. They were not like voted in. So the representatives that we elect are based on, okay, what's your platform? Are you going to speak for us? Are you going to stand for us? Okay, then we'll elect you.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that because it's clear that, talking about the pilgrims that came over, they understood because they had seen firsthand how when that power gets out of control, things start to go south. Those freedoms that we call our freedom, just like us in America today, we say that we're free. How free are we? And if we keep getting further and further away from our religious liberties, how free are we actually going to be?
I'll be honest with you right now. In concept, Americans are kings and the representatives should be working for us, but I don't believe they are right now.
Right.
Because a lot of decisions that are being made by our representatives, I don't believe they truly represent us. And I think something has, I don't know how to say it, but has been flipped upside down where instead of us being the kings and the representatives working for us, I believe the representatives have become kings.
Yeah, I believe that 100%.
And they are deciding what is right or wrong. Like we will take care of that. We know what you're saying, but we don't agree with that.
Yeah.
That stems from what we said earlier, where we're saying you're the experts, you think for us. That extends in this realm to you're the representative. So we're just gonna, we'll follow your lead. The word representative, I mean, really is a misnomer at this point.
Yeah.
Right.
Because they're not representing us and what we believe.
They have taken that to the extreme. Okay. So we do give representatives that power saying, hey, look, we cannot research every bill.
Yeah.
We cannot study everything. So please make the decisions on behalf of us.
Right.
But what's happening with marriage in America right now, with this RMA, which is the Respect for Marriage Act,
Right.
the way our senators are voting is completely contrary to our values.
I agree 100%.
I understand bills that are very thick and, it's going to take hours to read that. No, I get it. There, please represent us well. And hopefully we'll have enough of our people speaking out who understand these issues to keep you in line. But we know exactly where marriage stands.
Exactly.
God has said in his word, the marriage is between a man and a woman. One man, one woman for life, right? So here's the problem today in America. That is being challenged.
Right.
Yep.
The 1996 DOMA, right, Defense of Marriage Act is being challenged. And it's very tragic.
Yeah.
And I'm praying and I'm hoping that the American people, who are the kings, just like Governor Morris, the penman of the Constitution, said, the magistrate is not the king, the people are the king.
Right. And people have given up that kingship.
Yep.
People have
Right.
given it up completely, because what's happening is I feel like people are researching all of these politicians, all of these representatives, like you said, to kind of use air quotes there. They're researching them and saying, all right, let me find out what they believe in so I can stand behind that person.
Right.
But you've completely forgotten that person is supposed to be standing for you.
That's right.
They're
Yeah, that's
supposed to be, you're the one, you're the king, like you said.
You're the king.
Right.
And here's an interesting thing that Bill Federer does in his book. He, Who's the King in America? He says, and who are the counselors? The pastors are the counselors to the king.
Mm.
Now, don't misunderstand. The king there are not the representatives,
Right.
the people. And the pastors have to speak up and talk to their congregation and tell them, hey, listen, this is where we're compromising God's word. This is where we are going off the deep end. This is where we are giving up the freedoms in times of crisis or whatever. We're giving it away to those who should be representing us. Hey, it's time to stand up, people, to
That's right.
speak out.
That's right.
And I hope pastors will do that.
Amen.
Absolutely. I hope
Amen.
pastors do that. I hope we have the convictions to do that. Make your voices heard. Stand up and make your votes count. Make your voices heard, especially in the realm of politics. So important. If you enjoyed today's topic or you have suggestions for future topics, let us know by sending a text to 252-582-5028. You can also visit us online at clearviewtodayshow.com. And on that same website, you can support us financially. We love you guys. We'll see you tomorrow on Clearview Today.
We have been on the front lines. We see how poverty and hunger can devastate our communities. We provide help and hope to those who need it, no matter when or how they need it. This ministry is about community and family. Supporting one another makes us all stronger. This is us. This is real life. Food is life, but we are about so much more.
Here at the Help Center, we're bringing hope, reaching people, building lives, and transforming a community for Christ.
Teams are most productive when they are offered support from various aspects, including leaders and the organizations. Having the right access to required resources is a significant contributor to a team's success. More inspirational quotes from LRJ Coaching and Business Solutions, LLC at lindajordan.com. Make sure to follow them on social media today. That's LRJ Coaching and Business Solutions, LLC, www.lindajordan.com. Hey, we made it easy for you here on Nextdoor Radio and nextdoorradio.com. Available now by way of the Google and Apple Store is the Nextdoor Radio app. Anywhere you want to go, you can take Nextdoor with you. All the local talk programs, all local sports, and a great mix of 70s, 80s classic rock, you can now take anywhere you want to go by download the Nextdoor Radio app today. Available Google and Apple stores.
The holiday season is here upon us, and downtown Oxford is busting with all kinds of great stores for you to do your local holiday shopping. Now, we know the road closures have made it difficult to get to our stores, but no worries. You can still park and get in those extra steps and hop into your favorite stores where you can find all of your Christmas gifts right here in downtown Oxford. I'm Susan Cruz, and I'm a member of the board of the Downtown Oxford Economic Development Commission, and we are proud sponsors of Downtown Oxford.
The oh-so-fun Granville Haunt Farm is now set up as the Granville Christmas Farm. From now until the new year, you can experience this incredible drive-through Christmas light show. Visit their website for more information and tickets. You can head over to www.granvillechristmasfarm.com. Again, granvillechristmasfarm.com.
This is Louis Bowling with Looking Back into Granville County History. There are many things I love about Granville County. Here are just a few. Driving around the Masonic Home for Children at Oxford. Driving around the Central Children's Home in Oxford. Looking at the old railroad depot in Creedmoor. driving around Butner and seeing the remaining buildings from Camp Butner, visiting the many old cemeteries that we have in the county. My favorite cemetery has to be Elmwood in Oxford. Visiting the Richard H. Thornton Library. Collecting anything related to Thad Stem, Sam Reagan, and Frank Slaughter, all great writers from Granville County. Writing about growing up in Providence. Writing about tobacco farming and my dad's country store. Driving out to Lake Butner. Visiting the George C. Shaw Museum and the Granville County Historical Society Museum. Visiting the Camp Butner Society Museum. Listening to Mama talk about growing up in the STEM area. Playing baseball at Rucker Park at games umpired by Harold Curran. Playing baseball at J.F. Webb High School and catching blazing fastballs thrown by Doug Satterwhite. Getting calls and letters from Hart Curl before he passed away. Visiting Marguerite Stem, the widow of Thad Stem, many times before she passed away. Going to the warehouses in Oxford with huge loads of tobacco. The smell of tobacco in those cavernous old warehouses and the chant of the auctioneer.
The Artist Spotlight, where we feature local artists in our community and surrounding areas, right here on Nextdoor Radio and nextdoorradio.com. And good morning. Welcome to the Artist Spotlight, a special edition of the local talk program here on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. My name is Trace Knight. Hope you're having a great day. Our phone line brought to you by Little Caesars, home of the hot and ready pizza, 919-618-9258. Like mentioned, this is the Artist Spotlight. We have Sylvanus Slaughter joining us here with his brand new album, The Wonder of It All. My friend, how are you today?
I'm good, Trey. Thank you very much for having me here.
Absolutely. We appreciate you very much. Before we kind of dive deep into some new music, you're going to be playing some tunes here from your brand new album, which this is your fourth album.
Yes.
Let's kind of introduce you as only you could. Kind of go back a little bit. You've been in Granville County, obviously, pretty much your entire life.
Well, I left. I was born here, and I went to college in Greenville. Then I took off to Tucson and lived there a couple of years. And then I moved to San Francisco. I lived there during the tumultuous 80s. And then I moved to Hollywood in the mid to late 80s and stayed there until 2000, where I worked in the film industry. And then I came back here around 2000, and I've been back here since.
So, I mean, seems like.
I mean, what?
Gotta go around the world.
Well, yeah. I mean, I went to Rome a couple of times, and, I've never been to Asia, but I always loved Italian culture. And, yeah, you never know where the road's going to take you. I just packed the Volkswagen up. Somebody had a job for me in Tucson and said, "You want to get out of North Carolina for a while?" I said, "Sure." So I packed my VW up and spent 5 days in Dallas in an ice storm. I finally got there.
What was I thinking?
What was I thinking? Yes.
So talk a little bit more about your trip, deciding to go to LA. What
Well,
made
I
you
always
kinda go there?
My first vocation was to be a writer. Actually, I got a background in psychology and community health, so I'd have something to lean back on. But life kind of took me deeper into being a writer. So I worked for newspapers in Tucson, and then I got the screenwriting bug because I'd loved movies for some time. Not really until my early 20s. I saw a couple of films that radicalized me. I thought, this is a really interesting medium. There's so much you can do to a mind in a positive way with film. And then, of course, I fell in love with film music, some of it. And that's what the writing led me to San Francisco, and then living there during a crazy time in the early 80s. It was finally time to go to LA. I thought, if I'm going to crack this nut, I better try while I'm young, because it's a hard business, and it was. I got lucky. I landed a job with HBO, which financed me. It taught me everything about the film industry from top to bottom. I worked in every department. They were making these, cable films back then. And I sold one screenplay, optioned 2 others. I got a film made that was on PBS. And I got to the point where I realized, it really is a business about luck and blood relations. And around the late 90s, I realized the content of the film industry was going in a completely different direction than what I had grown up on, art cinema and European films. It was moving more and more towards just pure entertainment. And my heart wasn't in it. And I didn't like, I was living right in smack dab in Beverly Hills and West LA. And I just didn't like where the culture was going. And it didn't resonate with me, the ultra violence and the nihilism. So I came back to North Carolina, and I tried to make another film. It kind of went belly up before we could get in. 9/11 happened, killed the financing, left me in a lot of debt. So I picked up a keyboard and taught myself piano and guitar. So I'm kind of self-taught that way.
Oh, I'm learning something new every day.
And that's my anxiety about playing live.
But you look at it as a lot of people in all assets of generations, they do kind of linger where, hey, I should have got out when I could have, but they linger into many more years of being in the same space. So I respect that, of allowing yourself, hey, this is not me, this is not who I'm about, let me go ahead and get out. I like that.
And I love the art form. I do. I love filmmaking, and I still make videos down there for other people. I've made music videos for myself. I love editing and filming, but and the rat race, the angst, the acrimony of Hollywood, and I was at the top level of it at HBO. It's just too much for, life's too short to have all that contention in your life. Just because you want to do something, you have to constantly be in a bullfight with other egos, and didn't want it.
Yeah, I love it. Fannis Slaughter joins us here. He's going to be doing some songs from his brand new 4th album, The Wonder of It All. We'll get into that here in just a second. So you mentioned when you moved back to North Carolina, you mentioned that you taught yourself how to play.
Yeah,
talk a little bit more about that.
After my feature film collapsed, the financing collapsed, I thought, well, what am I going to do to express myself? So my friend Virginia Clay had a Casio up at her apartment on Main Street, and I just kind of borrowed it, and I thought, I learned chords, and I thought, I can do this. And then suddenly all these songs started tumbling out. So then I went and bought a guitar, and I thought, this is a little harder.
Yeah.
I've got piano hands, and guitar hands are different. And so all these songs started coming out, like 400 or 500 of them. And so in the course of that, I learned a lot about production. I had a good friend, Patrick Kern, who's also a great bass player, and learned a lot more about professional recording, bought some stuff, and just kept at it. I moved to Chapel Hill in 2004, stayed there for a couple of years, played bars and lounges. I was kind of operating in much more of a jazz vein then, which is perfect for playing alone. I'd had a band right at the beginning. The first album was more or less a rock opera of sorts. It was a 19-song endeavor that I recorded here down in the old Granville County Jail. Those wonderful people lent me to jail for a whole month. And so I brought all these local musicians and Raleigh musicians in, and before I really knew how to play an instrument other than some keyboards, and we recorded a whole album. And then we got out there and performed it at several venues here in Oxford and Durham, Chapel Hill. And that was interesting, starting off with a 9-piece band.
Yeah, I could bet. I mean, that's got to be difficult especially like me. I've missed that gene of any musical talent whatsoever. My grandfather taught his entire band how to play. Of course, my father-in-law is in the Beach Music Hall of Fame. That's what he does. But I've missed that gene. So how tough was that to be able to teach yourself and to where you were and to where you are now?
Well, I loved music. Was the first thing I remember about human experience. I always tell people that trapped me here. I remember as a baby or a kid hearing music, went, oh, okay, I'll stay, but it never occurred to me I had any musical aptitude. I mean, I always collected records since I was a kid. That was kind of like what stitched time and memory and personality together for me, was this record and this record and this record. But it wasn't until, and then I did, like I told you, I did radio in the 80s and 90s and as a DJ, and I always had that love and that collective and wanting to collect music and study film music and stuff, but never occurred to me I had any aptitude for it until I couldn't afford to make films anymore. So, and it probably came back down through my ancestors who all were deeply involved in religious music for many generations. And my mom taught piano. She never taught it to me, but I was always around the sound of it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, it's in there somewhere.
I love again. As Slaughter joins us here for our Artist Spotlight, part of our local talk program. And our phone line is brought to you by Little Caesars, home of the hot and ready pizza, 919-618-9258 here in the Oxford area. All right, so I'm ready to hear some music, my friend. What would you like to play here first?
First song is track 4 on The Wonder of It All. It's called Something to Believe. It's a song I wrote most of the lyrics one day sitting in a parking lot in Raleigh about 4 years ago, and just taking note of how I felt and watching the shiny culture revolve around me. And I've been listening to some Western soundtracks from Italy. So those Morricone, Donaggio ideas were in my brain. I thought, and of course, I always liked Chris Isaak early in his career with, Wicked Game. And I thought, okay, let's put all that stuff together and see what happened. So this is what happened.
All right, take it away,
You
my
ready?
friend. Yes, sir.
All right, bear with me. You dropped that bomb just yesterday. You made your mind up, you will stay somewhere chic, a little drive from Saint-Tropez. I'm not surprised at all. The glimmer long ago was gone from your eyes. I guess I should have seen that stain. Someone hears my solemn heart today, somewhere. Someone hears a radio, someone gets along. All those things we said, all the friends we'll never share. Fare thee well, I guess it wasn't meant to be. Drive my car, maybe I will find a friend. Have a smoke, a gin and tonic just for me. Someone hears my solemn heart today, somewhere. Someone hears a radio, someone gets along. It's something to believe. And another song. It's something to believe. And another song. Raleigh town, the shiny cars and boutique eyes. Look around and just as quickly look away. I'm alone. I remember me before my birth. It's okay. The Monet clouds have much to say. Someone hears my solemn heart today, somewhere. Someone hears a radio, someone gets along. It's something to believe. And another song. It's something to believe. And another song.
Something to believe here on the Artist Spotlight. This is part of our Artist Spotlight, part of Sylvania Slaughter, The Wonder of It All, his 4th album that he has produced. Of course, talk a little bit more about the regarding, it's so hard to me to fathom that somebody could sit down in a car in a parking lot and write something. That to me, that's phenomenal.
Well, I come from a tradition of starting out as a writer. I come from a tradition of poetry, which, last 20, 30 years became a dirty word in music. I don't know why. Nobody wanted to dare suggest they were a poet. But it's turning around now, and particularly even in the country western world. My great nephew is a big country fan. He doesn't like the new Nashville stuff, that, recombinant Eagles riffs, auto tune. He likes Johnny Cash and stuff like that. And the other week I was talking to him, he goes, "Yeah, I'm going to see somebody. The tickets are real expensive, and he's real poetic." I went, "Wow, okay, that's coming out of your mouth. Okay, that's a good sign. Okay." And if country can embrace that, and the country romance that I grew up on, like Patsy Cline and stuff, it was beautiful poetry. Willie Nelson. I like country romance a lot, and Western, obviously, which are genres that have just been sort of pushed. We have two dominant things of what I call new Nashville and rap now. That's it, and everything else just gotten kind of niched into oblivion. And if I can have any effect at all is to bring back, I mean, I do lots of strange stuff. I do jazz and soundtracks. I get hired to do film scores now and then. But the Western thing seems to be germane to my soul. And maybe it's because I really fell in love with the West when I moved to Tucson. And I liked all the spaghetti Western music so much, and it resonated so much when I got there.
What does that mean? Spaghetti Western.
Spaghetti Westerns were the Clint Eastwood movies made back in the 60s and 70s for a few dollars more, The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly. The guy that wrote the scores was an Italian, Ennio Morricone, who went on to write like 500 scores before he died last year. And that sound of, became really ingrained in pop culture, even when people don't know where it came from.
Yeah.
It came from Morricone,
Interesting. Oh, give this the artist spotlight. Learning something new every day, and I absolutely love it. Dana Slaughter joins us here by way of in studio here today. Of course, we're live by way of all of our social media outlets, by way of video, and of course, by way of our website and the Nextdoor Radio app available by Google and Apple Store. So, what makes this album really stand out from the other three that you've put together?
Well, it's been an evolution. The first album was like, hey, I'm going to make an album. I've got 19 songs here. It tells a story. I can't really play instruments yet. Let's get some musicians. That's the first. The second album is like, okay, I'm doing all this myself. And my friend Patrick's going to come in and help me with bass and sound mixing because he's really gifted at that. And that song was still like, it moved from Western to cabaret to jazz to, which is the way I think music should be. I like all music. And the third album was more focused. It moved towards more the Western. There were deeply personal songs about growing up with my father and his love of music and suffering in LA and all these personal things. And my mom and brother passing on within 8 weeks of each other in 2015. That inspired a song. And so that album was getting more and more personal. And then this one followed it. And everybody tells me, yeah, I think it's your strongest. But they usually qualify it's just you're becoming more of yourself, as you move on, which I think is the function of art.
That's a great compliment. So, hey, you're becoming the performer. We can actually see who you are now. And I love that.
Yeah. And as you we're all like onions and we unpeel ourselves if we're doing it right, I think, with age. And you get down to the core, some kind of hopefully core purity where all this other stuff you collected, this baggage, you just sort of like take it off. And my whole theory is like, as you take it off, you make something of it,
Yes, sir.
And then you don't have to carry it around anymore. And maybe somebody else will get something from it,
I love it. Again, so you have a event coming up here December 17th. So
yeah, it's
bit
sponsored by the Richard Thornton Library, who've been very good to me. And December 17th, which is Saturday afternoon, 2 or 3 we haven't decided on. I'm going to try to do 3 so people can go down to the Orpheum and enjoy the music and kind of a booth, Christmas booth event they're having down there. And I'll be accompanied by the incredibly talented Scotty Sandwich, who co-produced this album. And he'll be playing bass and running the electronics. Said it will have more of an orchestral sound down there. So I hope everybody will turn out. I mean, you usually have nice crowds at the, it can be anywhere from 15 to 50 people. You never know, but the library does its best to accommodate people, and the sound's pretty good. So I'm a little nervous about it because nobody could get out and perform for so long with all this lockdown business, and it really wrecked a lot of bands,
So the first time regarding going back to after the pandemic was over, we performed at the 250th anniversary of Granville County at the amphitheater there.
And that was the first little performance I'd done, and it was like right under the 100-degree sun, and
it didn't help. Yeah,
and we were having electronic problems, and it's like, but we got through it, right?
And so that kind of prepared not only everybody to say, hey, we can actually do something outside.
We can
For
get
all
out.
of my listeners, they know I do not like talking about the COVID. I don't like talking about the pandemic because it was such a big part of everybody's life.
Mhm.
Everybody got tired of hearing about it.
Yes.
And I don't like talking about it. But sometimes you have to mention, hey, that actually was a good thing because it allowed us to get out once it was over, the good part. It allowed us to get out and start doing some things and bands performing, getting back into shops and, breweries and bars and stuff like that.
Well, if there's one good thing that could come out of it was maybe the culture had gotten a little dull and self-satisfied, and having all this freedom dripped away all of a sudden really puts you in touch with the value of seeing people in person. Technology had really become kind of all-encompassing, and the mental health and the spiritual health of talking to people every day, being out there in 3 dimensions. I mean, goodness, you came here to live,
Right. Exactly. And Savannah Slaughter joins us here talking about his brand new album, The Wonder of It All. Of course, you can head over to his website, www.savannahslaughter.com. And of course, we'll be able to have that image and stuff like that. Right now, it's on our social media, on our Facebook. You can look at that. Let's continue playing some music if you're able to.
Yeah. I'm just trying to this is a very difficult song to play, but I work my way through it. This is the title tune, The Wonder of It All. And this is actually, the first part of it is set in 1994 in Los Angeles. And I'd parked my car on Sunset Boulevard near where I lived on Clark Street, up in the hills above the Whiskey A Go-Go. And River Phoenix the young actor came out of the Viper Room and died a few feet away from my car. And when I got home, I also got news that my film director idol, Fellini, had also passed away. He had been in a coma in Rome while I was there 2 weeks before. And so I got back to LA that day, news of Fellini dying, and then River Phoenix comes out of, celebrated Johnny Depp Viper Room, which I never liked. It always had a very dark vibe to it, and dies from a speedball overdose right there on the sidewalk. And it was just incredibly sad to me. And I thought, I don't know how many years I'm going to stay here. This is all going in kind of a Stygian dark direction for me. This is not what I came for. And so part of this song takes place during that evening and takes place now, trying to reconnect with people I knew then and wondering if there's, can we still rediscover that kind of joy and youthful thing we had? We all go through that in our own way.
Exactly right. All right. This song, The Wonder of It All, the title track of his 4th album with Savannah Slaughter. Take it away, my friend.
All right. We're going to try these chords out. I stare at the phone, wondering if you'll still be there. 2 decades later, can you even care? The long blur in between and a billion blinking screens, streams and streams of narcotized delight. A young star splayed on a sidewalk near my car. A speedball someone sighed, how sad things are. Just in from Rome, Fellini had died, and L.A.'d only sold me lies. I was a continent away in my mind. I'll dial up a melody we sang when the world used to sing. Our dreams a bargain jet away, the Spanish steps on sunny days. Let me love my memory of you and what you meant to me. The questions we once entertained, the wonder of it all still remains. Once you sighed, we are formed by time. Once I said my world is shaped by rhyme. Oh, courage sighs as the shiny vipers thrive. Pick up that phone and tell me you survive. Tell me you survive. Tell me you survive. Millions compete while the ivory tower schemes, an algorithm to steal all our dreams. And here I stand in a polarized mad land, looking back your way in search of light. Let us sing a melody we sang when the world used to sing. Our dreams a bargain jet away, the Spanish steps on sunny days. Let me love the mystery of you and all that you could be. The questions we once entertained, the wonder of it all still remains. Oh, the wonder, wonder of it all still remains. Oh, the wonder.
The Wonder of It All. This is the title track of his fourth album. Again, what I love about it, you're not afraid to really be you. And I think that, to me,
I'm not afraid to disclose
exactly.
myself. I mean, I'm all I have, right? You know, and I want other people to feel that way. You know, I love to talk to people on the street, and I know sometimes it's disarming. My honesty is disarming to people, because we live in a, you know, in a culture that's dominated by celebrity news. People become, I think, embarrassed, or they feel like their feelings aren't worth being aired. And my whole thing is background in psychology and being a listener and a counselor is to give people that freedom, to inspire them to disclose themselves in a positive way. I mean, you can talk about being negative, being depressed, but don't be afraid to reveal yourself. You know, you're here, you're living, you know.
Yes, sir. Again, Sylvester Slaughter joins us here by way of our Artist Spotlight. We are live by way of our social media outlets, the video and the audio today. Of course, download the Nextdoor Radio app, available by Google and Apple Store. And our phone line brought to you by Little Caesars, home of the hot and ready pizza, 919-618-9258. So, Ms. Slaughter, we have time for one more song. It's hard to believe 30 minutes already passed.
Oh, did it?
It's
wow.
crazy, right?
Well, you're a great interviewer, man.
I do what I can, but I would love to hear one more song.
Okay, real quickie.
Yeah.
This will be off my next album, God willing.
Sneak peek. I love it.
Sneak peek into the next album called Fringe Orbits. And God willing, I make it to the next album, you know, as you roll down the years. But it's about talking to a friend about aging and love and relationships. It's pretty direct.
All right. Take it away.
Okay. Watch out, that tender moon will rise and make a fool of you and tease you with those dreams the movies made you think were true. I'm done with him, I heard you say, but you called him again today. And don't you lie to me. You're smug and full of sentiment. You want someone to claim. Not delicate nor decadent, conversant with the town. Bourgeois, a man who sees things as they are. Oh, you want that dream one more time. You had a string like me, but most of mine left me one song. I love 'em hard, I leave. 'Cause parties only last so long. My views on love are dark. You sigh, how can I be so cool and right? Oh, you want that dream one more time. Oh, you want that dream one more time. It happened just last week. My heart smiled at some pretty face. Could hear you laugh at me. Oh, look who's trying to save his grace. I'm hoping that it's not too late. A seasoned man must contemplate. Oh, I want that dream one more time. Oh, I want that dream one more time.
Artist Spotlight here on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. You've just heard Sylvania Slaughter, brand new. Song's going to be coming out on the new album. Today, we're also talking about his fourth album that just released, The Wonder of It All. One more time, Ms. Slaughter, where can our listeners find some more information about you?
I have a website. It's Sylvanus Slaughter, SILVANUS Slaughter.com. And you can also find me on iTunes and Apple Music and Tidal. And if you're in Europe listening, you can find me on Deezer. And my CDs will locally be on sale up at This and That and the Painted Ox.
Fantastic. Also, remember, there's an event coming up on December 17th. Once you have some more information, feel free to
I'll pass it on,
so
yeah.
we can make sure we get it out. That's coming up on December 17th.
And that's a Saturday. It'll be 2 or 3 o'clock up at the Thornton, and it's being provided by Thornton Libraries, so the admission is free. And I really hope you can show up and see me and Scotty Sandwich tear it up.
There you go. My friend, hey, God bless you. Thanks so much for joining us, part of our Artist Spotlight, okay?
Thank you for having me here.
Absolutely. Again, my name is Trace Nine. On behalf of our local talk program, this has been the Artist Spotlight. We'll see you later.
We off?
The Google and Apple Store is the Nextdoor Radio app. Anywhere you want to go,